And welcome to the Aaron Katzman Show. I'm your host, Aaron Katzman. We speak to your life, your money, and your investments. And as always, we're coming to you from the spiritual and soon-to-be financial capital of the world, Jerusalem, Israel. If you like this content, please hit the like button below. And if you've not yet done so, please subscribe to both the YouTube channel and to the podcast. So today, I'd like to speak about something that I came across earlier today, actually. And it's a video from Aaron Speaks Money. I'm gonna play this for you right now, the first minute or so, and then I'd like to speak about it.
How much money do you need to retire at 35 and live on investment income alone until the age of 90? This is an article that I recently ran across from Business Insider. And this is a very clickable topic, right? The idea of retiring very young, not have to work anymore, and just sort of ride off into the sunset and do whatever you want in life. In fact, I love how this article starts. Most Americans have been in the working world for at least a decade by the time they reach their mid-30s. For some people, that's enough. And honestly, it just made me chuckle a little bit as I read this because I'm 36. I'm the age they're talking about here. And realistically, a lot is happening in your 30s. You're in the midst of building your life or maybe building a family, and that can come with a whole slew of stressors. And that can make the idea of just kicking back and relaxing pretty darn appealing. But on the flip side, your 30s are still really young. And if you think about having to fund the next 60 years into your 90s, it does seem like a bit of a long shot. It's unlikely that you're going to be able to fund those next 60 years successfully if you retire at 30. But for the sake of conversation, let's dive into this. And it's worth noting that these numbers are actually based off a Monte Carlo simulation for different portfolios that you would need for two different income streams. The author did it for an annual income stream of $100,000 and an annual income stream of $65,000. If you were to retire at the age of 35 with the intent of simply living off your investment income until the age of 90, you would need to have about $5.2 million invested to provide $100,000 a year annual income. If your goal was to have an annual income of $65,000, the nest egg needed at the age of 35 drops down to $3.3 million. Now, I think these are incredibly large sums of money, and the odds of any 35-year-old having these amounts saved up and invested is highly unlikely.
First of all, people are going to ask, I looked at it, I was like, well, wait a second, why do you need, if you've got $5.5 million and you need $100,000 a year, why is that? Why do you need $5.5 million? Why do you need $5.5 million a year at 35 to generate $100,000 of income? And I realize there's inflation at play and what have you. That seems a little bit weird to me. The numbers are weird, but I don't even care about the numbers. First of all, she's got a good podcast. I mean, I don't want to trash her podcast. It has nothing to do with her. She's fine. Erin talks money and she's fine. And I think it's interesting content sometimes, but it's the whole concept. People have been working for 10 years already, and now it's time to retire because there's too much. What the heck? Okay, it's not even a function of money. And I've spoken a lot about the sort of the FIRE movement, right? Financial independence, retire early. I can't stand the movement. I like some of the concepts in the movement, but the whole concept that we're just going to work hard and live in our parents' basement and save and hoard as much money as possible and then retire and then, watch Netflix in our underwear for the next 40 years and not contribute to society, to me, it's just bizarro. And she's saying, well, in our 30s, things start getting difficult. And we'd like to have, we have a family, but we'd like to have some time off because things are so hard. Hello, these are the years where you're most creative. Okay, why were you put on this earth? Just to sit around and just not do anything? No, you're supposed to be a productive citizen. You're supposed to try and change the world, right? As people are wont to say, I don't believe you're going to change the world, but you can certainly contribute to your community, to society, do something that's productive. It can't just be all about me, or I, as the generation is sort of known, right? Starting with all of the Apple products. Maybe that has something to do with this whole movement. It just seems so bizarre to me that there's this concept of, well, if you manage to save $5.5 million by the time you're 35, you're done. That's it. You can travel the world, and that'll take you, what, a year, 2 years? What, are you gonna go live in Mali for 6 months if you've got a family? That's not practical. And if you're gonna just do it by yourself, that's also not practical. So you're not gonna have a family. You're gonna be sort of like a hermit, right? You're not gonna have a family. You're not going to work. You're just going to buy yourself, right? Talk about being sort of self-centered. Think about it, just a little deep. You're going to have all this time. Maybe you want to think a little bit deeper, right? Why are we here? Right? That's question number one. Why are you here? Is it just to get most enjoyment as humanly possible and then pass away? That just seems sort of bizarre to me. You're doing nothing for society, right? So once you have a family, and I speak to people all the time who are into this, who into this called the whole FIRE movement, right? And they say, well, yeah, we're going to save all this money, and then I'm planning on getting married. So what happens? Just think about it. What happens when you get married and you have a kid? Maybe the first couple of years you can first, you're not going to want to travel and do all this kind of funky stuff when you have like babies and 1-year-olds and 2-year-olds, right? It's called the terrible twos if you don't know that yet. It's not so much fun to travel with a 1 or 2-year-old. But let's just say they become like 6. School, you can't spend 2 months in Bolivia, 4 months, Madagascar, a couple months in Canada, and a couple months in Brazil. It doesn't work that way. You have to have roots, or else your kids, like, you can homeschool, but they're not going to even have any friends. They're not going to have anything. Oh, so they're going to learn different cultures of civilizations, and that's more than they're ever going to get in school. Well, I'm not a big fan of school, and I think you can learn a lot more outside of school, but I'm not sure that picking up and moving every 2 months is going to be particularly beneficial for a child. You might like it, right, when you're in your 40s and retired, but again, you have other responsibilities. There are children involved. And the bigger one is, what are you doing for society? What are you doing for humanity? So the whole concept doesn't make sense. Aside from the fact that I don't like the numbers, right? The numbers are the 5.5 million and the 3 million and the 3.3, but if you wait to, what are we even talking about? You have to have meaning. Now, if you save up a lot of money and you don't like what you're doing and you want to move into or transition into some other profession or some other job, which brings you a lot more meaning, more power to you. You should have meaning. That's what you should be doing. You're doing something to try and help people, help society, one way or another. I'm all for that. But there's got to be more than socking away $5.5 million by the time you're 35 and saying, I'm done, right? That's it. I'm kicking back. I'm just gonna hang out on the beach and tan all the time. Seriously? First of all, you're gonna get bored out of your mind after a couple of months. I've spoken a lot of times. There's a favorite show that my youngest daughter and I watch, called A Place in the Sun. It's very big in the UK and Europe. It's basically all these people who live in the UK where the weather stinks, looking for sort of sunny destinations along the Mediterranean where they generally can buy vacation homes. That's usually what it is. Rarely although occasionally they'll have a younger couple who want to relocate to, Portugal or something like that. But generally people who are looking, for a summer home, a vacation home where they can kick back for a couple of weeks, maybe a month, even have some friends over and hang out in the sun. That's fantastic. Go for it. Okay, there's nothing that says you can't enjoy your life, enjoy your money. But to pick up and just live in one of these places for the next 60 years of your life and not contribute to anything because you don't, go to the cafes and go to the bars and then just like hang out sunbathing, that sounds like quite a life, doesn't it? I think we're put here to do a little bit more than that. Okay, so now that I have preached enough, you've been tuning into the Aaron Katzman Show. We like to speak to you about your life, your money, and your investments, and about meaning and why we are on this earth and what we should be contributing to this earth, right? If you like this content, please hit the like button below. And if you've not yet done so, please subscribe to our YouTube channel. Thanks so much for tuning in, and we'll speak to you soon.